March 7th, Newcastle Broadband Committee, 3 p.m. Workshop tonight at 7 o'clock at the Newcastle Town Hall. The only update from my end, and I'll let David and Mary Ellen give their perspective. Talked with Alan last week and basically gave him a summation of what the select board was going to ask about or take issue with, and told him to go ahead and make contact with Sarah beforehand before waiting for her to make the first call. And from then I've only been hearing updates from either Mary Ellen or David. So I'll leave either of you two to take it away on that end.
Yeah, I don't have much more. I did talk to Sarah about a few things. You know, she's trying to get up to speed on Connect Me and other things. So at that time, this is maybe Thursday, she had a message from Alan, but hadn't returned the call. So I'm hopeful that they chatted on Thursday or Friday. I don't know, David, if you've heard anything more.
No, I haven't heard much. I do have in my inbox an email from Tor. It's rather long, so I have to digest it. Looks like somebody is encouraging him to go for this opportunity. So, and he's sharing it with the select board, which he's not really supposed to do directly. So, you know, I really don't know. I am curious of how Joel's going to handle it if we're voting line by line for the items that they've put up for opera funding, or if we're going to do it as one whole slate. I'm just waiting to basically hear and see what happens tonight, and we'll react accordingly.
So did we? Go ahead, Tim.
Go ahead, Mary. I was just on that list. Have any of those been approved, David?
No, it's a brand new list.
Okay.
And it's
what's this list here? I haven't seen it.
I just thought from previous conversations with you that some of these items you mentioned, I thought maybe they approved.
I'm sorry, I haven't looked at it for a while again. So the town hall renovations, I don't know if that's new renovation. It says reimbursements. I thought it was at 45,000, but it says 60. So yes, 2 and 3, my understanding, have already been approved. Definitely 3 because I voted on that one.
George, are you?
Okay.
George doesn't have the information, I guess. Did you
I think I did see that in one of the emails. But
yeah, if you go, it's right below, George, it's right below the agenda is the sort of the spreadsheet that Sarah put out there.
Is this a recent agenda here, or going back to the?
No, it's for the agenda for tonight. I sent it
tonight. Okay, that's all right.
Is that Saturday, David, or?
Thought it was Friday.
Friday at 6:21 p.m.
And what date was that sent out?
Friday.
Friday.
Oh, it was Friday. Okay.
So, David, you're saying 2 and 3 you think have been approved?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely 3 has. Okay. And I thought before I was even on the board that they approved number 2 for that.
Okay.
But maybe we're reapproving tonight, or it's because it does say spending proposal and everything's on there.
I noticed on number 8, is that just a plug, or I mean, because it says the quote was for $60,000 and there's only 9,000
here too.
Thank you. Thanks, Evan.
I mean, did she just add it to so it added to the total amount, or do you know?
It's a very good question.
Okay.
It does seem sort of suspicious that it balances out totally, but.
Well, she said for the project was $60,000, and it's almost like she's run out of money, you know, for that. Maybe that'll be discussed. Okay.
So I hope we're going, it's going to take a long time, but line by line, because if they're looking for, I don't know, well, actually, maybe it's for some people, it may be wise to say, okay, we'll do the whole slate of things.
Okay. Have you had any discussions with any of with her or others since Monday?
No, well, yes, but not on this topic. We've actually had a resignation, although she gave a 3-week notice. That was more the topic of the day than anything. So no additional discussions.
One of the select board members resigned?
No, one of our office staff.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do we know if Alan's contacted anybody, her or others?
He said that he had a phone call with her on Thursday. I know. So Sarah talked with both Mary Ellen and Alan, but I didn't get a report of what was discussed by whom.
Is Alan going to be there tonight?
It's my understanding he is.
That's great. I apologize for causing any confusion. I just assumed he would be, because that's the better way of taking all the questions. You can't always predict the questions that the selectmen will have. So, but I apologize for any confusion about that. It's just hard to keep track of who's on first.
It is.
I think from the last selectmen's meeting, the one thing that I don't know how they're going to be discussing it, or you guys are going to be discussing it, is I know Rob mentioned it, and I can't tell from others who may have a similar idea, that from the standpoint of subsidizing Tidewater, there seems to be a feeling that the Connect Main grant is all that's needed. Now, I know that some town participation needed, but I guess what will need to be decided is whether that just gets dropped down to a small little number and the whole thing goes away, or what, because most of the other towns really don't have a big participation. So I guess we need to discuss that.
Well, frankly, once I saw this, I can see the board saying, okay, we have that in ARPA money. We see all these expenses that are suggested, and I could see somebody move to approve them all at once.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
That'd be nice.
And then we get 60,000, and then there's no questions about broadband.
Right. I certainly wouldn't bring up the question if it doesn't come up. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, George, I didn't quite get your point there. Can you try me again? What were you trying to say?
Well, at the last meeting, Rob Nelson basically said, "Gee, the
we're subsidizing
Main grant is subsidizing Tidewater. They really don't."
I thought he meant that our $60,000 was subsidizing. That's what I thought he meant when I listened to it.
I'd have to go back and listen to the video. Yeah. I mean the audio, but I don't know what everybody else thinks that were at the meeting.
He was referring to both, actually. So he's saying if the state is already subsidizing, why should we?
Oh, right.
He wasn't looking like, okay, we're investing so much to get this.
Right.
So David, how does the town and the select board see the ARPA funds? Do they see them as, obviously they're funds that are in the care of the select board, but I'm just wondering if they would look at it differently, because it is ARPA funds that are designated for very specific things. And this outline is very detailed and helps you to understand exactly what category everything falls into. And obviously the broadband expansion falls into exactly where it's supposed to for ARPA funds. So to me, this looks like, okay, these are all the things, including, compensating pay for staff, and all of those things fall into the category of what's allowed for ARPA funds. So to me, I can see why they are being good stewards of the ARPA fund money, but it's there for this purpose, I thought. So I agree with you, David. I've got my duct tape tonight. I'm not saying a word. If they say we approve the whole thing, I don't care who got what for toilet paper or anything else.
No, and understand this is the town manager's opinion of what fits into those categories, or which categories something like that fits into. I haven't gone to see each one of those categories to see really if it mixes, but it is curious. Okay, the Chamber of Commerce is on there, so if Mr. Nelson votes to support that, isn't he subsidizing the chamber?
Yep.
You
and
know.
Whoever the person is that's doing the construction.
Yeah. So I see if all these get passed tonight, the first time we talked about it, when they on Broadband said they need more information after having 20 days to get it. Yeah, I mean, I'll call it irony, not hypocrisy or double standards or anything. But
well, I think I don't know how things will roll tonight, and David, I think that the selectmen, would want to talk about each one of these individually, as opposed to just putting one motion up there, because they're all unique. They're kind of unique, and I think the whole thing I think we talked about last week was that this is the right now, unless you want to have a public utility, working with a private sector ISP is the way to go, and it's been going that way in Maine for 15 odd years. And so Connect Me has been partnering with, again, you can see it as a subsidy, but otherwise no change is going to happen, right? Change isn't going to happen unless your local provider, a good local provider, or the town wants to put in money in order to put them first on, in the queue for the next project. So the partnership is really essential. And I do think it's just a matter of, to me, I don't think of it negatively from Rob Nelson's point of view, but they're just getting used to this whole broadband thing, and why should towns support it? There are towns all over the state that are allocating money, and maybe, and some of them are going to loans, like Southport's going mostly to a loan right now. But the towns across the state, they do vary with the financial package they have. And I'm just worried that if we get any lower than 60,000, that, LCI will go, okay, we're done with you for now. So yeah, I'm hoping we can sit there at 60,000, but I'm encouraged at least that it's on the list.
Well, and I'm a little bit troubled by the fact that, we did all the legwork, they should trust us. And I mean, I understand that everybody wants to understand the minutia, but geez, when you've commissioned a committee to do all the work, and we did it, we included the town manager on the information, maybe they should cut us some slack and sort of delegate things to us and accept the recommendation.
Hey, David, Monday, you went down that road. What you just said was stronger than the road you went down on Monday, though. You tried to make that point, I thought, right. And you saw my email to him. I made that point too, didn't I?
You did.
I would.
And it was great coming from you. I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah, well, but if it comes up again tonight, if that Joel or whoever, one of them goes down the other road, I'd bring them right. I'd say the same thing. You're exactly right. We got 2 years into this thing, and they told us to do it. And you're right. Now they're pushing us to the side and saying, well, we want to do this and understand that. Well, okay, but that's not how it was set up.
I do feel that one point that was made, and it's a good point, that Tidewater, they're only buying into like 32% of the total cost, and for a section of town, sure, it's a difficult, not too many subscribers, you're having to do a lot of work, but it would seem that it would have been better if they left the Connect Main at 40 and just absorbed the rest and brought it down to 18. I have a feeling one of the selectmen may discuss that way. I don't know how you feel, David.
They might come to that realization on their own too, if they start sitting there and thinking, okay, the town has committed the 60, and then they may do some calculus and figure, well, maybe that is too aggressive, and ask from the state. So,
well, let's let them bring that up, George. Please don't bring that. Well, you won't be there, but anyway, don't bring that up.
No Ouija boards in Florida. Okay.
Shouldn't they only be concerned about the 60,000? I mean, why are they so concerned about other people's investment? They should be thinking, is it worth it to the town of Newcastle to invest $60,000 of our money? That's what they should be worried about.
I certainly feel it's a decent amount. It would just be, I think I would feel better about Tidewater if they kind of step more up to the plate.
Well, I'm glad you're still not on the board, though, George, given that comment. So
no. But you know, I just from some of the conversations last week.
Yeah, no. Well,
they're thinking that way, and it's not that I'm thinking from the selectmen's point of view. I'm thinking from maybe has Tidewater rethought their thinking. I don't know. The meeting that were you there, David? David.
Which meeting are you referring to?
This is with Alan and was it Thursday, Friday, whenever it was?
Oh, no, I believe that was just a phone call between Sarah and Alan.
Oh, is that okay? All right. I was thinking maybe.
Although I do wonder why, if Tidewater was looking that they could get $60,000 from the town, why they didn't have a representative at the last board meeting.
Yeah.
You know, that's, well,
it would just put them in more of the hot seat. So they figured, what the heck?
Yeah.
David, you have a great screen for keeping the smoke invisible. I'm not seeing it coming out your ears.
Yeah, well.
So I was steaming, as you know, and I let you know my frustration because, you know, I was at a meeting in August, a select board meeting, when we asked for the money for the infrastructure feasibility study, or the feasibility study for the infrastructure. And Sarah Macy, that was her first evening there. Mm-hmm. But the select board were there. I'm just confused about why they feel like they're just getting this information. That's one of the frustrations I have. You know, we have, Sarah Macy has been invited. The select board was invited before. This is not just something we've been doing in the dark. If they read the Lincoln County News, they would even know what we were doing. So
they would also know that other towns are putting significant money of ARPA funds.
Right. So I know Joel's style, and you have told us before, he doesn't like to make decisions on the spot. And I understand that. And I think they got significant emails from people letting them know they wanted this. So you have said, and a few other people have said, okay, they know that we want that the town is supporting this. So that's not the issue here. It's really the issue now of the money. Correct?
Yep.
So it's really about the money. So I don't know, as representatives of the broadband committee, what are we able to do tonight? I mean, it's sort of, Alan really needs to show up because that was really disappointing. I mean, if he had not been able to be there, maybe he could have zoomed in like Tor or something.
But was he invited?
Was
he invited?
It's only select board members who can zoom in like that.
Yeah, okay.
So, but anyway, yes, he was. I did tell him that, we had the select board meeting. He said, well, if I can make it, I will. So I didn't see him, so I figured he couldn't make it.
Yeah, and
has he been invited for tonight's meeting directly?
Yes.
I emailed him before we even left the room on Monday night.
Okay, good.
Well, and as I said in my email earlier this week, this is also an indication of how busy and slammed they are. And so it's just going to get worse. And that's part of what we were trying to communicate to the select board. Do you want your residents that, first of all, are unserved to be left behind? And then also, when I read that article in the newspaper, it's like, well, heck, if I had 50 over 100, why would I be crying? So I was frustrated about the article he was talking about the selectman's point of view, but he missed the whole point of why we're working on this. I was like, okay. So it made it
a letter to the editors, like in your mind. That you should,
oh yes, there sure was. But I got to be careful. I got to sit on this for a little longer.
So to Carol's question, David, there's no interaction with people visiting tonight at the meeting, and
no, it's just
you guys.
No, it's just like last time. This is a regular public meeting. You show up, and there'll be comment on things not on the agenda by people, and then we'll go to the one agenda item that's there. And if you have something to say tonight, then you have the ability to say it.
I mean, the worst thing that can happen is
as long as it's less than 5 minutes, it's more direct to the point.
Well, okay, well, let's talk about that, because Joel said at the last meeting, he got it. You know, they've had enough input. They understand, as Carol was confirming. They've got enough. Said people saying we want this. So the question is, for the people that are going to be there tonight, is there anything else we want to say from a committee standpoint?
Okay, Mr. Chair, since you got it, then put the money where your mouth is. I mean, hopefully you can say it a little more politely.
No, unfortunately, I won't be there. But
I'll have to work on that one.
If someone wants to, I mean, I don't know that it does any good just to get up and say what we've already said. That's why I'm asking. Is there something from the committees? I can't speak for people not on the committee. It might be there.
The way I see it is that there were a number of objections made. One of them was they didn't see the whole list. Another one is they didn't have time. So we could get up and say, well, now you have the whole list. Now you've had time to reflect. Now will you approve our request? And I will make a motion at some point that we approve that line item.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you know, how do you feel? Well, I don't know that you have any difference of opinion, but my impression was that if you let that motion go last Monday, it would have been rejected. Do you agree?
Right. That's why I pulled it back, because I didn't want the newspaper to say, you know, Newcastle kills broadband.
Well, have you feel any differently today than you did Monday?
I do a little bit, because now I see a plan that lays out our request with, frankly, the town manager's requests, and it all miraculously comes up to the amount of our allocation of opera funds.
That's what I see as a clear avenue. So there's
and I do have to backtrack a little bit. I did get an odd phone call once from the board chair, and he said, well, the town manager is getting the plan out, and the committee's request will be in it. And that's good, he says.
Yeah, it sort of sounds to me like they're
basically
prepared
saying,
to approve
we've solved your issue. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and I know Joel I've spoken with him personally, especially, you know, a couple of years ago when Krista was trying to help us, you know, build our Newcastle Broadband Working Committee. And Joel was, you know, definitely in. He was actually in one of our meetings, the meeting with the select board. And so I know that the support is there. And I think that they've certainly heard enough from people in town that already have broadband, but they still support the rest of the town who do not. So I think that, you know, is there. So maybe this is giving them what they want. I was watching some body language between the town manager and the select board. And she does not get to vote on this, but she certainly has a good position that they were watching. And so it's
good position. What's a good position mean?
Well, they're looking to her, even though that was my interpretation. They were looking to her. She was still helping them decide, is what I felt. But I'm pleased that she came through with this. I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm thankful that she has done this, because then there's no margin. She really has hopefully stepped up to the plate and said, okay, what are the things that we really still need to do? Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I know I'm going to get a tax return for $1,000, I've already got it spent. I'm not going to be waiting for next year and the year after to figure out how I'm going to spend it. So I found that sort of interesting from one of the select board. Well, we might need this later. Like, okay.
Which is sort of strange, because there's nothing built in here for later. It's all
right
now. So.
Right. So that actually is a good thing. So, but I don't know.
Well, it might get down to a conversation between you board members, David, of parking improvements versus one of these other items. That's the way it looks like to me. that the parking improvement quote was $60,000 and she had $9,983 left over after these items were listed. That's, so it make it down to that type of discussion. Do you do broadband or you do parking improvements?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So you might be ready for something like that. Again, we're all just guessing here, but
right.
Or even
of course, my response to that will be is look around in the audience and or at the last meeting and how many people were there for parking and who was there for
parking. Well, let's hope it does.
I mean, for some reason, right? I've heard boards clamor for public input, and this committee has provided a huge amount of community input, whether or not directly from the committee or from others who've written in or sent, nobody's called, but emails. Shouldn't that go to some weight somewhere, I guess?
Should.
That's another item. Write it down. Yeah.
David, do you know what the responses have been from the emails and solicitation? I mean, I heard from some people on Milliken Island or Nob Hill or Bell Cove, etc. But and I sent a lot of emails to. I sent Mark Doe, Topher, who's Mexicali Blues and Split Rock, Will Avantagio, all Sprouse, a lot of people that are in the town. I don't know if any of them responded or not. We had some neighbors up on 213 said they responded. They were surprised when I talked to them that we didn't have access to either Spectrum or Tidewater. So a lot of it's education. People are just not aware, but it seems like it's really up to the select board now to help us. And we will get left behind. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but let's face it. Look at the towns around. Nobleboro's coming in strong. They're doing their homework. They're going to spend the money. Their select board has already said, yeah, we don't care. We're going to get this for our people in town. We don't want to be left behind. So that's their attitude. And
that's a great, that's an optimistic take on this, Carol. But so we'll keep our fingers crossed for Nobleboro for sure.
No, but I mean, they're working it now, and they're. I don't know that they'll be ready for this grant, obviously,
no, they won't be. Yeah.
No, but their select board is in.
Hey, Carol, let David answer your question. You were asking if he's been receiving any emails, because to Carol's question, David, have you seen a lot of emails come in?
I believe I've only received 2, maybe 3. Last week, a lot of them were just going to everyone else.
Because you're on the, okay.
Right, but that was just an email that I sent out, right, yeah.
But the comment made me think that they must think I'm some type of puppet master to get all this public input or whatever, They go, oh, of course you didn't get them.
Well, the reason
because I'm driving it, well, good. If I'm driving public support, that's called leadership, and if they don't recognize that, then sorry, I'm in a mood, I guess. It's like,
that's okay, David. I love it.
It's just
my answer would have been, I read the 235 surveys that came back. I know people want it. That's what my response would have been. Yeah. So, but again, I think, if you believe Joel, and he seems to run the show there, they know the town, quote unquote, a good portion of it wants this. So I think that's that, and now it's just a matter of, do they think it's worth of the 180, 60,000 to be spent on broadband? That's what this is boiling down to. So is there, again, from our committee, is there any other information we need to provide them to allow them to make that decision, short of public support? I don't think we need any more of that. They said they got that.
Yeah, but I'm not one for sort of drawing back the throttle on that one. I think it needs to be right up to the end. And
okay, but what do you want to do?
Your point is right. I mean, the more every time new information is available, we should give it. And But it may not be necessary because they may say, okay, it fits in.
Yeah.
But you're right. If we go, okay, well, if we take away from one line, we give to the other, then
yeah,
that's when somebody needs to stand up and say, we don't need PPE equipment. We need broadband. You know, we don't need cleaning supplies. We need broadband. You know?
Are you saying the public should do that?
What's that? I mean, anybody's there could voice that.
Oh. I would hope, this is me from out of town, I would hope that we wouldn't be criticizing the other proposals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's relatively small money, so I would be really thoughtful about that and just see how the nature and the details, you know, of the conversation goes. One sense, I'm encouraged that our 60,000 is in this, but I would just be careful as Newcastle residents, depending on how we get to speak, about commenting on the other proposals.
I agree 100%, especially because we're also on the broadband committee. So I think we should stay far, far away from criticizing everybody else's proposal and just make sure we're supporting ours 100%. It's, in my opinion, it's up to the board to decide how they spend this money, and we just got to put our best foot forward.
No, I agree, but I know what David's frustration is. If it starts getting nitpicked, then that's when we might want to say something, but
not about the other. Well, again, I agree with Mary Ellen. I don't think you should criticize these other items. How do we know? How do we know whether the parking improvements are required or not?
Well, it is important, and so that's what I'm saying. I would not attack any of the others at all unless we got to a place where then people are going, but you know, there's 60,000 for broadband, and you're going to do that. Then we would want to support ourselves, and in that respect,
I guess we could do that. Sorry to interrupt, Carol. We could do that without actually attacking the other ones. Just say that we really are encouraging the board to allocate the whole $60,640.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, and when they say, "Well, we got this on the other side," you know, we could reduce you a little bit. Say, no, you know, we've heard from the public. This is why we need this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can say it without saying it, I guess.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you're speaking your frustration. It's important to get that out. Like I said last week, I didn't say anything for days, and it was like, oh man, I'm steaming. I gotta go. This gotta go somewhere. My husband was about ready to kick me out. Anyway, one of the questions I would have for them is, what else would they ever need from us? There's nothing more that we can give them. We have done our due diligence. We have done everything possible, you know, and to reduce the amount from 100,000 to 60,000. I found that quite impressive that you and Evan were able to, you know, talk Tidewater down. Although we knew that it's like buying a new car. Here's the one with all the bells and the whistles, and oh yeah, well, we can actually give you a car for this price. So I didn't see anything unusual about that. I saw that Sarah was trying to figure out, you know, how it changed, and that's valid. You know, why didn't you present that at the meeting in Damariscotta if that was what you could do it for? But that's all part of negotiation. I think we all understand that. That's a negotiating tool. But what more, like with Rob, for example, and I realize he's only one, but what more would we be able to give them? I just don't know what it would be.
You have to be careful with that question, because it turns around, well, what more will you give us if we give you $60,000? You know, what are you going to do for the town once you have that fund, those funds?
You mean Tidewater?
Well, Tidewater or the committee. If the board, you know, in response to your question says, well, what more can we do if you don't do this? They could say, well, what are you going to do if we do this?
Fill out the application and send it in. What do you mean?
You're an attorney, David.
I know. I've seen that happen before, and it's just.
Well, okay, so I don't know what the answer. So, Dave, what's the answer? Tell us.
The answer is we're going to continue to pursue the vision of the town, of the committee, to make sure that we get future-proof universal access to high-speed internet.
Well,
you know, whatever it is, you know.
Oh, I thought
then you can also work on continuing to help people get signed up for the affordable connectivity program.
Or saying, or make sure we're going to get the grant in on time. We're going to then move to phase 2 and negotiate with Tidewater to, you know, if I'm going to be less flippant, you know, you're going to get down to the detail of how we're going to move forward.
Well, it's too bad that, you know, this board, this committee that they commissioned 2 years ago, if somebody asks a question of the committee tonight, I think it'll be the first question, won't it? Have they asked any of us any questions? Have they asked for a meeting? Have we suggested a meeting? Nope. Not one that I know of, but David.
But see, we weren't supposed to do that because the town manager was supposed to be part of this committee.
Yeah, but we knew she never was. Did she ever participate in the call? I never remember.
The only time she participated was the meeting in Damascotta.
Okay, well, you know, a little bit shame on us.
But she didn't
shame on us a little bit. Yeah. Well, then shame on us. We should have pushed it forward a little bit, but that's okay. They didn't catch it either. So, you know, we should have known that they didn't really have a clue. Really.
Well, I wouldn't say they didn't have a clue because they did participate in that meeting.
Right.
Well,
and if they had questions, they could have answered it. I think the failure here is that we just didn't have this proposal presented to the board last week. When it all came down to it, that was it.
But there was a lot of other stuff that was accomplished over the 2 years too, that we could have spoon fed them a little bit. So they just seemed to be a little bit overwhelmed. That's what my reaction was.
Well, I don't want to make excuses, but there was a change of board. There was a change of manager. So
yeah, again, another reason why we should have spoon fed them even more, maybe because of that. Yes, I didn't realize that. But
yes, that's
true. That's water over the
right.
You know what?
But in any case, that it's really in the town's ball court right now to deal with Tidewater on whatever they have to do for the whole question of contracts, which I guess is really not a contract, but there is some understandings that have to be made as to, okay, one question that came up, okay, if it costs more than they said, obviously town's not going to put up any more. That's the money, you deal with it yourself. If it costs less, how do we know it costs less? That's for the town, not us as a committee. That's the town's problem, quite frankly.
And that's not what's being voted on tonight.
Oh, no. But if it gets voted in, then those have got to be dealt with before the application goes in. That's all.
David, is Sarah comfortable now that there isn't going to be a contract between the town? Well, I shouldn't say there's not going to be a contract, but she seemed to be concerned about that, and understandably so. And maybe Mary Ellen and Evan can address this too. She was concerned about a contract, and I don't know if that got resolved in her mind or not.
Yeah, I had a chance, and Evan may know more. I had a chance to speak to Connect Me last week, and it is proper and for the town to have a contract with their provider. And so what we gave them was a Bremen example. I didn't have a lot to choose from today, but in one sense, it's proper to make, because this is a big deal. This is a big contract. You guys have done all the work for the last 2 years, but it's a big contract, with a lot of fine tuning and ifs, ands, and buts and all that other kind of stuff. So she's right to want a contract. So hopefully she'll be out working on that. If we get a yes on this whole proposal today, I think that would be great. I don't know, Evan, if you've had more of a chance to talk with Connect Me.
None on that end.
Okay.
I'm confused though why it's an issue, and if it becomes an issue again tonight, I'll explore it a little bit more. But
I wouldn't worry about. Yeah, I don't know.
We allocate funds, sure. Then you form a contract. I don't know why you don't allocate funds because you have to do a contract.
I didn't hear her verbalize last week that this was an obstacle. It's more like, does she need to be ready to do this? Anticipating and hopefully anticipating a yes to the 60,000. Does she need to be ready to sit down with LCI and knock something out?
Well,
Mary Ellen, does she by the 20th? I'm confused too.
I'm not sure about that, Tim. I'm not really sure.
Can we get an answer to that? I mean, is it, I mean, Krista, did Bremen, are you still on? Did Bremen, do a contract for their deal?
Yeah, I sent Evan and Mary Ellen info from Bremen's situation. We did have a longer time working with Alan to go through just a variety of the points we were trying to negotiate. Not that we were successful on many of them, but Tidewater provided a lot of details on what their pricing plans would be, their seasonal pricing, things like that. And that all made it into Tidewater's, they had a proposal document for like a proposal to apply for a Connect Main grant jointly with the town of Bremen. And it kind of went through what basically what the fiber optic service would be in Bremen and what the committee would do. Anyway, I can share that out with the whole committee.
I was just about to forward it.
Yeah, just
was
forward.
That before the application was submitted, Krista?
It was before the application was submitted, and it was kind of the basis for formally agreeing to apply jointly with Tidewater. Now, the committee did try to. We had a lawyer on our committee, and we tried to create more of something that looked more like a contract. It was just an MOU because the committee wanted to be able to have a little more accountability. So Evan, you can forward that if you haven't yet, forward the email with Alan's response and everything, because we provided an MOU to Tidewater saying things like, they couldn't raise prices in 3 years, and had some points like that. And Tidewater didn't end up wanting to sign that. They just, they said, Connect Main provides accountability and it's true that now there's a lot more accountability for any internet company getting a Connect Main grant. They do have reporting requirements. They do have to have the build completed within a certain amount of time. So Alan's response to our contract or MOU was that it wasn't necessary, that Connect Main would be the accountability tool, that they wouldn't raise prices and we could take their word for it. But we at least felt good that there was, an agreement to move forward on the application, and we were getting a kind of a clear message from Tidewater of what the town was actually partnering on. So that's what, anyway, Evan will send you all of that. But it was essentially, I don't know, maybe I'm behind on catching up on some of your materials, but I haven't seen the feasibility study from Tidewater. Has
the town manager just, by the way, sent out that Bremen MOU there. And Krista, neither have we seen the actual feasibility study. All we saw was the spreadsheet of the costs.
And that's what we paid them for.
We paid half of it. You think
we paid half?
Half of the study.
Well, they wanted to keep it that way, right?
Oh, okay. So if Sarah asked the question again tonight, do we have to have a contract before the 20th? What's our answer, committee?
It looks like it's not clear to me.
Well, I think it's from the town manager's point of view. If I were the town manager, I'd say I want a contract with LCI in order to best represent the town going forward here. So I think it's up to her.
And it seems appropriate to me from what you're saying that.
I would think the committee would recommend it, but anyway.
So the question back is to her then, if it's her, okay, can we do it in 13 days? Right.
It's kind of a question for somewhat for Tidewater as the lead on the application itself. I wonder if the town's commitment of funds could be contingent on, I'm not sure. Just as far as from Connect Main, with the deadline, figuring out some sort of, that the funds would be relayed, just to give yourself a little more time before anyway, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm trying to think whether there could be
as long as we don't tell
funds could be granted by the select board contingent on a proposal or a signed, agreement.
But I thought if we said contingent in the application with Connect Maine, that put us in a weaker position to get the money. Yeah. I thought, Mary Ellen, you said that at one point.
Well, I was referring to other monies being contingent, but besides the town's commitments. So I think if it's a contract, and like we haven't had enough time to really either to bring Sarah in on this in an assertive way here. I think that we could clarify that, Krista, but I wouldn't think the Connect Me application would be held up because the town and LCI are still working on the contract. It's got to reflect the proposal, right? It's got to reflect the what's in the application, all those details. So we can't stray too far from that. But if there's
or at the least if it's worded in a way that it's contingent upon a contract being made, then the selectmen don't have to vote on it anymore. Then it would be
something like that.
Yeah, that would be the timing aspect that would free it up.
But so if I'm making a motion tonight, it is that the town commits the $60,640 for this project. And the grant could say that the town did in fact commit that amount of money because the select board voted.
Yeah. One thing, do you feel confident that Tidewater is going to be able to put this application together for Connect Maine in 12 days or whatever it is? 13 days? I mean, it's really
got all the information.
Yeah. It's out of our hands unless we can all sit around a table and pound on Tidewater. I don't know how you.
I think they've done enough of them that this is, we're looking at it as something big, but I don't know about Evan and Krista and Mary Ellen, but I mean, they've done a lot of them and Alan didn't seem to be that concerned about it, but maybe we should be, I don't know.
How about the stuff that we have developed that needs to go into the application, the surveys and all of that sort of stuff? Are we ready to provide that to them for this? Or is there more work to be done?
I think we've definitely got a good start. So if it gets greenlit tonight, then
okay,
I'll start compiling.
We can do that
this week.
And Evan made a point last week too. It was the town of Newcastle doesn't have to do anything more, if I understood you correctly, and it seemed appropriate that once this is done, then the town's responsibility, they don't have to maintain, they don't have to manage any of it, right? I mean, there's nothing more that they have to do. They've helped facilitate getting access to, right now in the first phase, 99 homes that are unserved. So it's not like they have to manage any of it. I know with Spectrum, they get franchise fees, and obviously I'm guessing LCI, they don't get that, but there's nothing more that the town has to worry about, right? Once they, allocate those funds, there's nothing more that the town has to do, is there, other than, obviously contracts and negotiation and all that. But I mean, as far as maintaining the broadband or the fiber and all that, they don't have to do anything. That's the end of their responsibility.
I would hope, other than just a couple clerical things that may come up between the grant or whatever, just formality things, they can give themselves a nice pat on the back.
Yeah.
Is that
Tidewater is going to be at the meeting tonight?
I just emailed Alan just to double check.
He better be. Yeah. Okay, just getting back to trying to check a box here. Back to, if Sarah says, I want a contract before the 20th, what's the committee's or David's answer? I don't know who the discussion will be among, but what's our answer?
Well, she would have to work with Tidewater to get that in place. So
the answer is yes. We're going to say
really
yes. We're
up to
and
her.
We would help. So your answer, Dave, is going to be, okay, we'll do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And is it also a good point, David, to say that there isn't, once, as Evan just said, once they allocate these funds and there's paperwork and contract, signing or whatever, there really won't be anything else that they would need to do. Does that, I'm not sure.
Get this first phase done.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So phase 2, yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah,
right. They'd be ready to
phase
move on
2.
to
There's a lot
2.
to do.
Right,
Yeah.
but I mean, as far as what they have to do for phase 1, then it's in the hands of Tidewater, who's committed to take care of this project.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if I should have chamomile tea or caffeine before I go.
Alan just responded, yep, 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Or a good swig of gin.
Oh, you know, you don't want me to have a swig of gin before I go to a town meeting. Oh, no, 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 no.
Well, good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Tim, how did you get into the meeting live last week?
Well, I just watched it on YouTube. I wasn't able to interact, but I watched it on YouTube.
No, but so how did you do that? You just went to the town website?
Yeah, I sent it in the email last week too.
Evan sent the email, but it is on the website. Yeah, but I did notice that hey Dave, you guys zoomed in a selectman, but you don't like to have real people go in. I guess is it illegal or what's the deal?
I mean, you're going to take me off topic quite a bit, but I think we're not being transparent enough by letting the community participate by Zoom.
I agree.
When we allow a select board member to do it, albeit that he has COVID, is still, if he's able to participate by video conferencing, why can't the general citizenry?
I think they might have opened up Pandora's box there by doing that, but I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, no,
it's like, yeah.
If anybody speaks, make sure you speak into the microphone. That's the only thing. Carol, we couldn't hear you very well.
Oh, that's good.
No, it's not good. Is Mal still on? Hey, Mal, you on?
Yes.
Are you? I didn't quite get your point. It didn't come across. Were you supporting it, or what were you making us think, or what was up? What was your point?
I was supporting you guys.
Oh, okay, all right. So it was like I said. Sometimes it was hard to hear, but good.
We muffled it for you, Tim.
Well, you don't have to do that. Believe me, I can. It's hard enough as it is. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, but anyways. Yeah, they should Zoom them all. I would think it would help. I mean, why not?
Is that the first time they've Zoomed a select board member, David?
Since I've been on the board and since we've passed a ordinance allowing board members to participate through Zoom in certain circumstances, it didn't address the public's ability to do that. Mm-hmm. So that should be on the horizon at some point. Yeah. It was, I mean, it's the way things are getting done nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Is Tor, does he still have COVID, or is he going to be there? Or do you know, or do you care?
I think he should be present tonight. I think his 10-day, or now it's down to 5-day quarantine.
Yeah, it's been 7 since then. So yeah, if everybody's masked in the room, that's the rules, or if he's masked. But anyways. Well, I think in giving all fairness, I think Sarah putting it in and then just coming up with a full use is a good move for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Then there won't be any more questions as to what's going to happen with this last 18,000 or whatever the heck.
Right.
Right.
All right.
How are we all feeling?
You know, I wish I could read all their minds. All I can remember is from what they've said last week and the limited interaction I had since. But I'm feeling positive, but I'm still reserved because it went a little sideways last week with some, what I feel is nonsensical stuff. But I think it all was due to the fact that we didn't have the plan that we have now in front of us. So with that change in place, maybe we're in a better position.
And there'll probably be some questions tonight, but let the questions be asked and let them be answered.
Well, and I think Alan is, you know, I mean, there were questions, I mean, he would have been able to answer Rob's question immediately.
Oh, that was one other thing that I wanted to remind people of, is that I think it was Rob that said that the total went down by 10,000, but he was looking at the Damascotta versus the Newcastle numbers, if that should come up, because it went, Damascotta's was 347 and Newcastle's was 336. And he implied that they also adjusted the whole total down 10,000, but that was the wrong town, and I still have the original to prove it.
Okay.
So that's something, if that information hasn't been yet corrected. Well, how are we all feeling for 7 o'clock?
Good.
I don't know. Any other magic thoughts?
I'll be thinking of you guys.
Sort of got it.
Pour out a drink for us on a palm tree, George.
Yeah. Yeah.
Support broadband, but don't criticize the others.
That's right.
Yeah, we're having dinner with friends. Well, I don't know if you know Jim Cosgrove.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, he and his wife are coming here to dinner. So
cool.
I haven't seen him in 4 years. So.
Wow. Is he working in real estate down there?